The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Pit Life BBQ podcast. Join us around the pit as we talk all things barbecue. Now here is your host, Johnnie Mags.
What's up, everybody? Finally back live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café in Salem, New Hampshire. Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Life BBQ podcast. Chrissy, how's it going?
Hi, good. It's good to be home. I'm back.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Welcome back. I'm good. I'm all right.
Everything went
as good as it could go,
as
you
could.
know? So, yep, everything was lovely. We took care of business, and I'm back. I'm home. Hit the ground running.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah. What's going on with you?
Nothing other than the damn traffic to get here today.
How was Houston?
Houston was incredible.
I saw photos. It looked
Houston
amazing.
I still haven't gone through all the photos.
Yeah.
You know, because everything we took and Kent took, then we started a group chat with everyone down there. So just everyone put their pictures in there so everybody can just grab them. And I still haven't gone through, but man, to see everybody was great. But to have me, Uncle Steve, Kent, and CJ all at the same place at the same time, there's no words to describe it.
I saw the photo of you all together. It warmed my heart. Even all the way in Australia, I was still online checking out what you guys are doing.
Nice. There's Mama Mags, and there's Dutch. Chapin, what's happening? Chris Ruzinski, what's going on, brother? So. Let us. I don't know how the hell I want to do this. All right, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. Okay. Before we get into the ads, if you guys have followed the feeds and, are friends with Uncle Steve, he had some news happen. Made a post the other day that unfortunately he lost his mother. And he's doing well. The girls are being strong, everything. But just please keep Uncle Steve and his family in your thoughts and prayers through this time. I know they're having he posted something the other day, they're having a celebration of life. I want to say actually April 1st. Yep. At his house and all that. So, thoughts and prayers go out to you, Steve. We love you, brother.
Absolutely, we love you.
And, that's that. Yeah. Chrissy, hit it.
Oh, wait, I'm doing that? I just got back from Australia.
I just got back from Texas.
I know.
So.
Oh, God, where's my... I didn't open the
Come
folder.
on, rookie.
Oh, my God. Okay, I'm just going to do it from... Oh, it's not as good as the one that I did that I had written down. Okay. Hey, Johnny, have you ever wondered why you have a line of people in your backyard or lined up to get into your backyard when you're cooking barbecue and your neighbor doesn't?
That's right, because I'm using Uncle Steve's shake and they're not.
Yes, that is right. Uncle Steve's shake. See, this is what happens when I go home and then come back again. Uncle Steve's shake, 12 amazing flavors plus 13
as of today.
Oh, as of today. Okay, I didn't get that note.
That's
so
right.
I'm still
I just got the notification of it too.
Whoa, what's 13?
The new Cooking with CJ and CJ's Q, the new West Coast Shake is live.
Amazing.
Went live today on the website. Check it out. A lot of great West Coast flavors, a lot of citrus notes.
Yep.
Still has that smoky little spice. Incredible. Incredible. But yes, it went live this afternoon. He texted me literally on the ride up that it was live. So now 13. Then we're going to have to change that again. We're going to have to change it again, but there's something else.
I need to be CC'd in these emails, fellas. What's going on? Well, 13 at the moment. So Uncle Steve's shakes are handmade, hand-measured, and hand-mixed, and hand-packed. They include the competition line and the incredible dessert shake. And don't forget he's not the newest edition anymore, but the sauce with no name, my personal favorite. No matter what you're eating, Uncle Steve has a shake for it and also an amazing sauce. If you have any questions, Uncle Steve has great customer service to help you with all your shake needs. It's him. So go to UncleSteveShake.com to order your shakes today. Also, while you're on the website, you're also going to find some amazing tips and recipes for those shakes and sauces. You'll be amazed at just how versatile Uncle Steve's Shake can be. And while you're online, head on over to Facebook and join the Uncle Steve's Shake Nation to stay up to date with all the latest creations made using Uncle Steve's Shake and maybe even share some of your own. It's time to step up your backyard barbecue and your competition barbecue game with Uncle Steve's Shakes. Shake some on everything. I found my write-up.
I figured
it got
you
real
did.
good, didn't it? Mm-hmm.
Also brought to you by Two Guys Smoke Shop and TwoGuysCigars.com. Whether I'm barbecuing or not, I always keep the smoke rolling thanks to my friends at TwoGuysCigars.com. Today I am smoking the All Saints Colorado Robusto. It's a little big for a Robusto, but whatever.
Okay.
It falls under the whatever. That's what the label said anyway.
Yeah, we'll just go with it.
Thanks to my friends at TwoGuysCigars.com. I get to smoke some of the best cigars in the world, and so can you. Just visit TwoGuysCigars.com for your perfect barbecue companion. That's the number 2GuysCigars.com.
I'm going to let you do Magna Chef because I can't find my
Also brought to you by Magna Chef gloves and Freedom gloves. Our brother Alan Fonte knows a little something about fire management, being a Miami-Dade firefighter and all. He has designed both designs of these gloves from the ground up. Food-grade silicone, patented magnetic clips, easy on and off. Magna Chef, heat-rated, 500 degrees, web fit for a firm grip, one size fits all, and dishwasher safe. Now, if your more traditional 5-finger glove is more your style, he's got you covered with the Freedom line. Once again, food grade, patented magnetic clips for an easy on off. Heat rated 932 degrees. 14-inch gauntlet, protect your forearms, no more tic-tac-toe marks on the forearms reaching in there to get those proteins that are tucked in the back. He's got you covered. Check him out at magnachef.com, and at checkout, use the code FREEDOMLIVE for 10% off your order. That is the promo code FREEDOMLIVE for 10% off your order. Freedom Magna Chef gloves, master the fire. Freedom gloves, take a stand, free your hands. Also brought to you by CustomCuttingBoardsRUs.com. Ian Hemming is creating what I consider the Yeti of cutting boards out of Magnolia, Texas. These cutting boards take an absolute beating from your dishwasher board, so your standard countertop board, to the absolutely massive brisket board, 18 by 36 inches. This thing is huge. And he's also got you covered on the pizza side.
Oh, yeah.
Grooved for that perfect slice every time. Deep lip reservoirs catch all that wonderful juicy goodness from whatever proteins you're covering. Patented rubber grips on the bottom of the board. So even on a wet surface, these boards will not slide on you. No accidental cuts and emergency room trips and stitches because the board slipped. We've all been there. So check him out at CustomCuttingBoardsRUs.com. That is the letter R, us.com. Nice. Matt Pereira, what's up, brother? Aaron Leslie, Texas Oil Dust. What's happening, man? Max Baez, Mad Max calling you out. Let's see. Juke has what's going on. Tim Rogers. Bam Bam is in the house. Ben Graves. Matt and Jenny, what's happening? Big Rome. C-Mac. Yeah. Sean Hogan. Wow, all the boys are coming in. Nice. Nice. So, while I was in Texas, obviously my Wi-Fi was a little jacked up, but I got an email from this gentleman. And it piqued my interest right off the bat, not necessarily being barbecue, but that's obviously how this all happened, but local, New England-based barbecue company. Let's go. couple emails back and forth, and we were able to get today because we had to move, still moving this damn schedule around. This has been all screwed up. But we're getting it done today. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Manchester BBQ Pellets, Scott Licamele. What's up, brother?
Oh, I didn't mute him. Wait, we got no sound.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, there
Doing
you go.
very well. Nice to meet you, finally.
Nice to meet you, brother.
Doing all right here in Manchester. We're just rocking and rolling.
Fantastic. How's the weather down there today? I know it's absolutely gorgeous up here, about 65, not a cloud in the sky.
Finally.
Low 60s, yeah, very nice. Yeah, finally spring day, first day of spring, or well, depending on how you measure it.
I still got my fingers crossed. We know how stuff goes around here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Snowstorm by the end of the week again.
Hey, it happens. It happens. So, Scott, thank you so much, man, for first off, for reaching out. And second off, making some time to come and talk shop with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So traditionally, my first question is, Scott, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how your barbecue journey began.
Sure. Yeah. So my bro and I, we've been involved in actually in renewable energy in the past, and that included like biomass, like wood stuff, like to make energy and heat and things like that. So we worked on a number of projects like that, and we came across a property in Manchester that were unfortunately the Central Connecticut Farmers Cooperative, which had been there for like 70 years. They went out of business, and they had been the largest feed mill in in New England. Very big entity with, I think well over 100 employees for many, many decades. Anyway, so sadly they went bankrupt. There was trouble down at the mill, so to speak. And we acquired the property, and we looked for, the option of producing wood pellets as a potential use of the property, because we were both very interested individually in barbecue, just at a personal level. So it always kind of piqued our interest. And I'm very focused on like cooking and barbecue and that sort of stuff. So basically, we looked at it, and we found that Connecticut was like a really good place to site a pellet mill to make hardwood pellets, which, as you know, obviously, you can only use hardwood pellets when you're making, barbecue products. So we looked at the market, and we saw, wow, the pellet grill market is really growing much faster than all the other markets. And so we raised some capital from some investors and some help from a local bank. And we managed to invest in, develop, and build a state-of-the-art wood pelleting facility right in Manchester, Connecticut, that uses local forestry resources and wood. So we're creating forestry jobs as well, by buying their product. And we found that the types of woods that are available, like predominantly red oak, white oak, hickory, hard maples, provide a really good feedstock for like a really good blend. But part of the process was figuring out how to make and design a pellet mill that was specifically more for flavor than for heating. Because as you know, I think you probably know, there's a wood pellet mill up in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, that makes heating pellets.
Yep.
And most of the mills that were built in America, I'd say all of them in the 80s, early 80s and beyond, were originally set up for heating. So they're more focused on like energy production. And we took a little bit of a different approach, and we're like, we want to make the best pellet mill we can create in Connecticut to get the best flavor for cooking, hardwood cooking pellets. And that's kind of how we got to where we are today.
Awesome. So with the pellets, now, is there a process in sourcing wood? I know you said you work with the Forestry Service and everything, but with the manufacturing of the pellets, are you looking for a specific, I guess a grade of hardwoods?
Yeah, no, that's a very critical question, because like there's two things that determine whether a barbecue pellet has good flavor or really not much flavor, which is one of the reasons why a lot of real barbecue teams they use stick burners, because they want that full smoke, right? So when we choose raw materials, we're one of, I think, two what they call round log mills in the United States. The rest of them all use dry sawdust from milling operations, and they're just fine. They're fine for energy, but for us, the grade of wood is we only use green hardwood chip that we then grind and dry using a very new process, which is behind me in the picture,
Okay.
to create to not over dry and to just pulverize the material enough so that we can pelletize it in a way where you don't get rid of a lot of the wood flavors, like the terpenes in the wood, that get lost when you over dry or over process the wood material, or if you start with dry material. So the key issue is it's not so much the grade, it's just like, what are you starting with? So we start with debarked hardwood chips from local forestry groups in Connecticut, which creates some good jobs. And basically they're debarking and then chipping the materials down to like 2-inch minus size, and then they deliver them to our mill where they're processed within 1 week of delivery. So we're starting with really fresh feedstock, and that's really critical.
Now with using the green wood, with everybody, we all know especially with the stick burners and the drums and all our wood burning stuff that we cook with, it's always seasoned.
Yep.
Seasoned, dry, some moisture contact, obviously, because you do need smoke. Now, with creating them with using green wood, how does that work on, a seasoned process, I suppose? Or is there almost like a drying process you guys use in the factory? Or if it is with the pellets, does that really not matter?
Actually, no, it's critical. Absolutely. So, and I think the key difference between like logs that you'd use for like a stick burner, usually they have a moisture content of about 20%, maybe 18 to 20% in general. That would be seasoned wood, right? So it's going to give you some smoke, more smoke. A pellet to be considered like a premium pellet. And again, I'm kind of wading into like heating and cooking, because there are certain like physical properties of the pellet that, irrespective of how you're using them, they got to have a certain bulk density, a certain durability, a certain moisture content. So the moisture content of a wood pellet is usually somewhere between 6 to 8%. So it's lower than log. Now, how we get there is we have a proprietary like new 2-stage drying system that we use, which makes us different from any other mill in the country. That's like one of our processes that we're actually in the process of patenting. And the basic idea is you take the green biomass, it's like 2-inch minus chip, then it gets grinded in a green grinder, then it gets passed through a stage 1 dryer that blows it through like a tubular system we have. Actually, it's not in this picture, but you can see it in the distance from the other side.
Okay.
And what happens is it hits the material, it drops the moisture content. The green chips are about 40% coming in moisture content. Stage 1 drops it to 20, roughly speaking, percent, which is where a log would be, right? But that's still too high to create a proper, like a durable pellet, right? So then you got to come lower with the moisture content. Then we have a fluidized bed dryer system as our second stage, and that's the trick of our process, that we're able to retain more natural wood flavor in our product, because the second stage of the drying, where we go from 20% to like say 12%, roughly speaking, before we put it in the pelleting machine, the pellet mill itself, we're using low temperature. And when you do the final drop down in temperature using a lower temperature, not like 800 degrees, but like say 200, you're going to retain more of the flavor, so that when you pelletize the wood, the actual natural wood flavor is much more pronounced than what you would get from like say a mass market brand that's just taking sawdust from a mill. They both work fine. They both burn, but it's just an issue of like, what is the best flavor you're getting?
Okay. So you don't use any additive, like you had just said, some of the bigger ones will be sawdust and, the remnants of whatever their process is all going into the pellets. And you guys, yours, Manchester's, are strictly hardwoods, none of the sawdust. Interesting.
So which is like an extra step for us from an energy use perspective. So it's a more costly process to make it. But okay, yeah. So
now, obviously we've all heard of, it's a good batch pellets or a bad batch. How can you tell the difference between a good pellet and a bad pellet?
Sure. Well, there are a couple things. Number one is you need to really know where what raw material is being used. So like I was saying, we specifically use the green chip, so that's critical. You want to make sure you're buying pellets from a mill. I mean, obviously, in our opinion, that, not to talk up my own story here, but basically we're feeling that you get better flavor when you start with a green chip. That's number one. And then number two, you don't want to mix filler woods that sometimes are used for heating pellets as a barbecue product. And a perfect example is you don't barbecue with poplar generally, right? I don't know anyone who does, right? But poplar, as you know, is a very common milled wood for the interior furniture, construction of the inside of a piece of furniture. So it's very popular in the United States to have a lot of wood waste from poplar or from alder or from gum tree, whatever it might be. So basically you want to make sure that you're not using wood pellets that are produced from like filler woods that could also be sold as like a heating pellet. That it's not regulated, so you can't really tell unless you really research it. It's very hard to know like what's in the bag because they're not required. We're not required by law to state what is in the bag. We do honestly tell you what's in the bag, but it's not required because there's no regulation.
Yeah, because that's always been a question I've seen and heard in a lot of shows that I've watched and listened to of when we're talking pellets is I'll go to my local store and I'll buy a bag of oak pellets. Also, I'll buy a bag of cherry pellets. How do you know that it is oak in the pellets? Obviously, you get a log or split. You can smell it, or even a cherry wood has that tint to it. So you can tell the difference between some of the smells of the wood. So how would you do it? Because like you said, there's no regulations. But are you just going? We're basically just going by the label on the bag.
Yeah, I mean, if you do, I think a key thing is if it's a readily available wood, like let's say oak, it's pretty likely that if they say it's oak, it's oak. Yeah. Because it's not costly. It's a readily available wood. It's constantly milled by a variety of sawmills for hardwood floors, whatever it might be. So there's an abundant supply of that. When you get into things like fruit woods, like apple, like let's say you see a $9 bag of apple pellets, on the shelf at, I don't know, some chain store. It is very likely that in the case of more rare woods like that, where they're clearly like cheaply priced, that they're actually filler woods where they use artificial flavoring agents to infuse the flavor. So when you open the bag, you're like, oh, it smells like apple. But when you burn it, and there's a chemical reaction involved in the combustion of the pellets. When you burn a flavoring agent, it doesn't really give you the actual flavor. I mean, if it's a natural oil, it might, if it's an extract, and sometimes they do use them. But things like fruit woods, mesquite, all these like more exotic woods, pellets that should be very expensive because they're not as common. It is, 9 times out of 10, if the bag says apple on it, it contains maybe 1 to 5% apple, if that. And the rest is just filler wood with fragrance. So what I would say is that if you're buying really cheap, there is one company on the West Coast that, again, I don't want to mention any competitors' names, but there's one small mill that does make like natural fruit wood pellets. They're very small though. So the point is, if they're selling it at like a big chain store, the chances of it actually being what's written on the bag, if it's a more exotic wood, is pretty low because if the price point is that low, it's just it wouldn't make economic sense for the manufacturer.
Yeah. So now, speaking of the price,
sure.
You walk into like a local hardware store or a barbecue specialty store.
Yep.
And you see the prices of brand A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. Now, I go right across the street to a big box store that has a big orange label on it. How come you can literally see sometimes a major price difference between like a mom and pop store and the big box? Obviously, mom and pop, they can only afford so much or more space, while the big box stores, in extreme buying in bulk. But why is there such a difference?
Well, I'll put it this way I don't want to, be too mean here, but what I would say is you get what you pay for. And if in a world where most mills that were set up to manufacture heating pellets, in the case of hardwood, it's likely in some cases that some of these very good deals that these larger stores get from their contract manufacturing or their white label negotiations with individual mills, you might just be seeing essentially heating pellets being bagged as barbecue. And where it's not necessarily that they're bad, it's just that they really might not have the flavor profile that if you're really into barbecuing that you're going to want. I'm not saying that in any way that they're hazardous or that you shouldn't use them, but it's just that it's just really lacking the flavor. And I think you'd see that if you open up a bag of, brand X, we'll call it, big 40-pounder at some big box store that's really cheap. That's probably what's going to happen. What I would say is the ones that are considered to be the higher quality, like say the ones that in the orange bag that you see at a particular big box store, those do price out at like $19, $20 a bag for a 20-pound bag. So I would say probably the retail price range for quality pellets is somewhere between like say $16 to $24 a bag. Obviously with inflation it's going up, but that's kind of the range that where you kind of know that those manufacturers, they're charging a little higher price for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Because there is a quality difference.
Yeah, and I know, I can name names because he made it very clear when we had him on. Joey Machado from Texas Original Charcoal. Okay. And, he was with B&B for a time. He was with Blues Hog for a while. And he is getting away from his products in the big box stores because he really wants to focus on the quality. And he's noticed with some other companies who do with the big box stores, they need to produce so rapidly to meet the demand that the box stores are looking for, the quality starts to lack.
This is the challenge, because any bigger manufacturer, they're going to need to engage these distribution channels that are larger, right? Like these big chains and stuff, and they're going to have to do it at a lower price, a significantly lower price. And the only way they can do that is by controlling cost, and a significant component of the variable, not to get too detailed, but the variable cost of production for wood pellets is your raw material.
Nice.
and it's a big deal. I mean, it is a very big deal. So I think it is very difficult to scale an operation like this and retain or maintain the quality in a market. Just to give you an idea, like the barbecue pellet market is probably around 1 million tons a year already, and it's growing at about maybe like 10% a year, which is really fast because all the other grill segments are declining, like gas grill, propane, are all going down. But anyway, so.
Oh, nice. Let's see. Big Rome asks, what type pellets create more heat and what pellets give the most flavor?
Well, our approach is create a natural pellet that is as close to getting to a log in terms of the outcome of the flavor you're getting based on our manufacturing process. So again, it's to get the best flavor, you want to have really good. You want to make sure you're buying pellets that use really good raw materials. And that's hard to know. I mean, you have to test them and you have to understand what they're doing. It's probably not going to be a mass-produced brand. It's just not possible. They just can't do it. And then, I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question? So good flavor and what else?
The other part would have been more heat.
Yeah, I mean, the more heat, it's tough to say. I think you have to reach a certain bulk density that's more specific to the heating market. You test your pellets for durability, for bulk density, for ash content. So you kind of want lower ash content, like less than 0.5% if you can. And you want to make sure your bulk density is like, say, 41 pounds or higher. And that will get you more heat. Now, what happens is the more dense the biomass and the drier, the less smoke is going to go off. So this is one of the negative aspects of using a pellet grill is that if you're like an expert barbecue guy using a stick burner, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I'm only getting like 80% of the smoke on like say a 10-hour brisket cook or 14-hour cook with a brisket. You're going to be like, wait a minute, this is not, it's almost there, but it's not, it doesn't have that extra like bang of smoke that you get from a stick burner. So that's one of the negatives. So it is hard. You get the heat. And for example, we tested our pellets in an uni pizza oven, and I got the stone up to 995 degrees Fahrenheit. So our pellets are like Chernobyl hot. They're really hot.
I was just about to ask you what the hottest temperatures you've reached with your pellets. Oh, very interesting. Interesting. Now we have Chapin has a great question. How long does the process take from when the green chips hit the belt to being bagged and ready to ship?
Well, I would say behind me, you see those big bins in the picture? those are our storage bins. So I would say to go from green chip to get into the storage bin or to be bagged, because it's either going to get stored or bagged, takes about maybe 20 minutes cycle. So we're running at X number of tons per hour, depending on how fast we go. But it takes about like maybe 20 minutes to get through. The longest wait is in the cooler because you have to use ambient air to cool the pellets. So they kind of sit there with air flowing through them until they reach an ambient temperature, and then they drop onto a screen to then go into the silo. 20 minutes, something like that.
Cool. Now, obviously the pellet grill has been around for a while. And we know a lot of professionals started with them, Pellet Envy, Butcher Barbecue, they've been won Grand Champions, American Royals, right. Jack Daniels using pellet grills, and now they're a mainstay on the circuit nowadays. Did you see? When do you think the real popularity of them came to be? Because forever there was always the easy bake oven. You can just throw it on the set it and forget it, and you're not really doing this. And I'm guilty as charged because I know some of the boys who will go back to find the previous episodes years ago saying no, never. Well. My tune has changed. I still use the stick burners, but I got into a pellet grill, the Green Mountain Grill Trek.
That's a good grill.
And I love it. And I can produce great product with it, and the convenience of it is beyond anything. Yeah, I can sit there and I still got to monitor it. Do my temperature probes and my spritzing and all that. But the time I actually got it and used it for the first time, my wife had an accident with her leg and couldn't walk for a few months.
Right.
So I was cooking on that and, doing stuff with the kids and the giant honeydew list. But yet the whole time I'm smoking a couple pork butts out there and not even worrying about it. The temperature stays consistent. When do you think that it really became a mainstay in almost a necessity in anybody's barbecue arsenal?
Sure, I think that's a really good question. I think the original pellet stove was invented in like 1979. The first pellet grill was invented by a guy named Joe Traeger, which is the name of the company now. Adidas not in it now, but that's the name where the name came from. I think that was in 1985. So from like 85 to like say, I don't know, like 2010, it was like more a West Coast story because it originated out there. So very prevalent on the West Coast. I'm sure you probably noticed even in Texas. We have a dealer down in Texas now that sells our product in the northern part of the state. And he said, I was just talking to him about it before he ordered from us, and he's like, yeah, we like, he goes, they're very popular, even down here in Texas, where you think people would be more traditional with their barbecue techniques, but because of the convenience factor you mentioned. So I'd say probably in the early teens here became popular. And then I think what really made it popular was when Traeger grills prepared to go public a few years ago. I think it was in 2021. So like 2018 to 2021, that was when the real awareness, which you probably noticed quite prevalently, that was when they really picked up in popularity. And that's when we were building our mill a few years back, kind of at the same time. So I think what's interesting is that in the Northeast, it's the lowest penetration of pellet grills in the whole country. And we're from New England. We're like the land of steady habits over here. Nobody wants to change anything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I think it's interesting because we have a different perspective here in New England because it's not as common, right?
Yeah.
But they're gaining popularity. But to answer your question, short answer is I'd say by 2015 they really started to pick up in popularity, and I think now it's still the fastest growing grill segment despite the overall slowdown in the space, and the economy in general.
Yeah. And I also see it as, how do I want to word it? It's a great gateway into barbecue because we've been saying, it's the simplicity of it. You load the hopper, you set your temperatures, what you're doing, and you can literally walk away. And now you can go down to the store or your kid's soccer game and run it from your phone now. And, that jumps in because of people's schedules and a lot of things. And it keeps coming back to this now, is the whole lockdown and the whole COVID thing, that we saw a lot of an uptick in the sales of pellet grills and pellet smokers, because people are home going, oh, what the hell do I do? Oh, we got to do some cooking and this, and I don't have time to do the fire. And, these pellet grills, a convenience factor.
Yeah.
And, has turned a lot of people into our industry because of that, I can just do this, and, you're not managing the fire and everything else that goes along with, quote unquote traditional. But it is now becoming traditional in many aspects of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that even carries over onto the commercial side, because when I was down at the NBBQA event down in Orlando last month, the big takeaway I got from talking to the guys who actually run a lot of barbecue restaurants all over the country is they were like, well, we like the traditional method, but the economics of the barbecue restaurant business have changed because cost pressures are high, for food and everything, and for labor. And they're like, you know what? I can hire a pit master to sit for 14 hours on an overnight shift making, brisket, or I can run pellet smokers in my operation, have less permitting issues with, also because of the emissions from a stick burner can sometimes, if you're in a city or something, it's going to be a problem, or could be. So what we're seeing is not only are consumers at home, to your point, saying, hey, this is a lot easier and I get a much better result, or close to what, like a really good result. But restaurants are also acknowledging that. We have a lot of good restaurant customers, in our area, and I think a lot of folks are switching over. It's very convenient, and it gives a consistent flavor outcome and the control, like you were saying, that you just can't get without a lot of attention. And people just don't have time for it,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. This has been so informative. You could do it. I could pick your brain for hours. But I
Anytime.
do want to ask a question here.
Sure.
You had just mentioned you had gone down to the NBBQA conference down in Orlando back in, I believe it was February.
Yeah.
Beginning of February.
Yep.
And you left there with a little bit of hardware, sir.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got.
Oh, yeah.
I got my.
Tell us about that.
Well, we got our award. We got our first place award of excellence. There you go. I'll put it up on the screen there. You can see it. And yeah, we got first place in our category, and we were very excited. They're nice bunch of people down there, and it was really great to meet everybody in the community. Some of our customers were there. We met some folks, and it was good. It was a really good experience. We're very happy to participate in that.
Yeah. Now, what category was that? Was there a strictly a pellet category or
barbecue tool? They just
barbecue tool.
Yeah. So so we're excited about it. It was nice to get a little recognition. I think they really liked the flavor. They said, "Oh wow, this does have like a distinctly like natural wood flavor." When you open our bags, it's like you can smell. It's almost like opening like a bag of like wood that's not too overly dried, and which is nice. It gives you a nice natural thing there.
Nice. And I know you're working with teams.
Yeah.
I know locally Matt Pereira from Matt's Backyard Barbecue and Rico Pasquale from Q Shanty. Two local guys who do great on the local circuits here.
Yep. And we're also working with the gentleman Chris from Let It Smoke Barbecue in Enfield, Connecticut.
Okay, yeah.
And we're going to be doing a VFW barbecue in the town of Manchester, probably in May or June. That's our thing. We're kind of vet focused, so we want to do sponsor some barbecues for people in our local community as a little outreach. So we're doing that.
Okay.
And we're excited to support those teams and help them out a little bit with their pellets. And they seem to really like the flavor as well, which we're very grateful that they appreciate that.
Yeah, Matt, we had Matt on about a month ago,
Okay.
And then after that, he was telling me about your product. That's how I originally heard from you. Then then you reached out. So it was just perfect timing.
Oh, good. Okay.
But now, are you what stores are you in? So people local, or even are you just not necessarily local either? Where can people find your products?
Sure, we're in, I believe, 10 states now, in about 55 locations, and you can in the New England area. Just go into our store locator here. You can, if you look us up on ManchesterWoodPellets.com, we have a store locator with every place in the country. But we've got up in your neck of the woods. I got a location at the Fireplace in Whately, Mass. Mm-hmm. Also, Papa's Hardware in Shrewsbury, and the Stove Place in Shrewsbury, and then in Gloucester, Mass, a little closer to you, I guess, Foster's Grill Store. Maybe you've heard of those guys.
Yes, Foster's, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they like our product. They've been carrying that. So those, and then we're on Breakaway out on the Cape, Modern Propane in New Jersey, bunch of Ace Hardware stores, mostly in our state where we kind of started out. And then we got some folks. We have Lancaster Barbecue Supply out in Pennsylvania. Good people, really good team, barbecue team themselves. And we're out in Illinois at a new place called Blue Smoke Barbecue, and Buffalo, Florida, White Oak Barbecue Supply, and a place in McKinney, Texas, which is like north of, I think, Dallas.
Yep. There you go, Texas. Rome. McKinney, right down the road.
Yeah, we're in a place called Chard Grill and Outdoor. They're a newer shop. They have 2 locations there. So we're basically just following the strategy of, like, to your point before about some people don't really find it interesting to be in a big box venue. We're not a giant company that can manufacture enough product to be like nationally distributed in some big store, nor do we want to be. We're a specialty product that's priced basically at the same price point as our competitors, more or less. Some are cheaper, some are more, but we think our product is, has better flavor.
Oh, so. Awesome. Scott, man, we are unfortunately, we're up against it, but
you're right.
I appreciate the time you took. There's been a ton of information, put in this. Where can everybody find you social media-wise? And also, I know you just gave the website out, but...
Sure. It's ManchesterBarbecuePellets.com, ManchesterWoodPellets.com. They can look us up. We have, if they type them in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're kind of in all the main spots there. And I can forward you the social media links.
Okay.
For later. But
perfect.
Yeah, but absolutely. But thanks so much for having me on. We appreciate you're doing that.
Oh man, I appreciate it. And we'll definitely do this again. And like I said, if you come out with anything more, hit me up. We'll schedule something out for any new releases, things of that nature. But hang on right there. I'll jump right back in with you. I just got to close this out.
Okay.
Awesome, Chrissy.
Awesome.
So much information. The whole pellet world has come. And like I said, kind of, not necessarily joking, but you can go back into previous early episodes a few years back and go, no, I'm traditional, no way, never.
Even I've heard it since I've been producing for you.
Till I finally got my hands on one.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
yeah,
I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it. And you still can produce a great product
this is what
with
I keep
it.
Hearing.
With, a quarter of the work.
I think it was good to educate everyone a little more on that, so that
for sure.
The more, no offense, closed-minded barbecue peoples might be curious now to give it a shot.
Oh, for sure.
What could it hurt?
Hell yeah.
Come on.
It's good to be back, kiddo.
It's good to be back. It's good to be home.
For sure.
What do we got coming down the pipeline?
Next week. Next week is going to be a very special episode. Excuse me. Jen Lee is joining me. Ooh. And she runs the Danny Dietz Memorial Cook-Off Classic.
Awesome.
Out of Texas, and that is in remembrance of Danny Dietz, who was a Navy SEAL who lost his life in the movie Lone Survivor.
Yes. Okay.
He was one of the 4. There were 4 SEALs ambushed. 3 of them perished. Danny was one of those, and they've done an incredible job. I know Robert Rocha from Bullhorn Barbecue tells me this is a must cook. A lot of the Texas guys make sure they clear their calendar for this event every year. Really special event, and we'll get into that in the other events Jen runs. I met up with Jen when I was in Houston.
Awesome.
Great person. Funny story on how we actually crossed paths down there, but we'll get into that next week.
Tune in next week to hear all about it.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That's it for this week. Catch the audio wherever podcasts are found. Catch the video on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. You have all the episodes right at your fingertips. Find all the social media links down below. Questions and comments, please send them to Pit Life BBQ Podcast at gmail.com. And like always, subscribe, like, rate, and review. Hit that share button. And until next week, keep the smoke rolling.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.